Recorded Books presents A Daughter's Courage by Misty M. Beller. Narrated by Barbara Mcculloh. Chapter 1. September 1817. Rocky Mountains. Rupert's Land, Canada. Cooking fulfilled Charlotte Durand like little else did. Maybe not the act of slicing meat and stirring stew over a hot fire, but the steps required to ensure each morsel she prepared would bring her family pleasure, that her food would nourish and strengthen, and in this case, furnish the setting for a celebration. The trading party had returned from Fort Versailles. Laurent's council had finally opened their solitary village to a small bit of trade with the fort, located 2 days' ride to the east, but only a couple men went at a time. For this journey, Eric and Monsieur Rochette had been gone 5 days, returning this afternoon with heaping packs of supplies. Tonight their table would be overflowing, just like the traders' packs, and she had so many final preparations to finish. In less than an hour, both men would sup at the Durand table to share news. Who knew what fascinating tidings they'd bring this time? So many people passed in and out of the fort's log walls. Charlotte couldn't imagine meeting so many strangers every day. The rear door of their apartment opened, and her father stepped in, brushing something from his hands. Probably rock dust, if he'd been visiting the new homes being cut into the mountainside. "Smells wonderful in here." She smiled at him. She was no great chef, not like her good friend Audrey Masters, and some of the older women in the village. Her skill had been completely self-taught, through testing and watching others, and tweaking her own methods based on the results. That had always made her outcome a little different from the rest. But she loved working in the background to make things happen as they should, and to keep their home running seamlessly. And this meal had to be perfect. Papa had asked her to prepare ragout d'ours, and thankfully the fatty bear meat was almost impossible to scorch. Papa approached the fire where she stirred the ragout and inhaled deeply. "Ah, wonderful. Hugo will be pleased." She stiffened and glanced at him. "Hugo le Maire? I thought Eric and Monsieur Rochette were dining with us." The chagrin on her father's face tugged her middle into a knot. "I invited Hugo also. He was interested in hearing news from the fort, and he'll be trading some of the supplies when our Denis friends come in a few days." Papa's eyes turned hopeful. "He really is such a good man, Charlotte, and he thinks highly of you." The knot tightened into a thick coil. Papa had taken the young man under his wing. At first, she'd thought her father's efforts were simply for Hugo's benefit, to help him return to a better path, after the mistakes he made in his youth, especially the debacle with Gerald that nearly took her sister's life. But Papa had clearly seen something he liked in the fellow, and the more time they spent together, the more her father spoke his praises, specifically to her, when Hugo wasn't around. She'd finally come to terms with the truth. Her father thought Hugo should be her match. Hugo had made his interest clear, too, even in his shy way. Could he really think she was interested in the man? Had he not seen the times she'd gone out of her way to avoid Hugo's presence, or turned the conversation when Papa droned on about the fellow's growing list of good qualities? Hugo had come far in the past few years, exchanging his slothful ways for a trade where he worked hard. He'd even stopped mumbling, as he'd once been known for, though now his shyness kept him even quieter than before. Still, he wasn't the man for her. Every part of her cringed at the thought. The look on Papa's face now was almost
Sample complete. Ready to continue?